See, very briefly, I want to tell some people that artificial intelligence is not what you are being programmed to believe it is. It is not a machine or a robot. Artificial intelligence is you. Most of the people on the earth now represent the true definition of artificial intelligence. When you go to school or college, you are not learning. You are being programmed. Your brain is being treated like a hard drive. And they are constantly putting in data that you memorize and instantaneously believe and regurgitate later, like for a test or in debate. So these tests and debates aren't facets of intelligence. It's just you showing how good your memory is to regurgitate data supplied to you by people you think get up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, and put on their white lab coats in the interests of truth, or the interest to relay the truth to you. This is incorrect. Think about this. When a university or science department tries to procure funding, do you think that if any of their results have negative findings, that they will explain those negative results to whoever they're trying to procure the funding? No. When the truth contradicts the desired result, the truth goes down the drain. They will not let the truth interfere with them receiving the funding they wish. These people do not get up and have their coffee and put on their white lab coat to tell you the truth. What these people are involved in is like a gerbil on a wheel running. Okay? What matters to them is power, prestige or esteem, money, and tenor. Now, some of you might know what tenor is. If you don't, go look it up. Anyway, when the truth contradicts the goal, the truth goes down the drain. And the reason why you believe what you believe is not because you verified it or demonstrated it. It's because you are like a computer, having been programmed with a lot of nonsensical data, and you instantaneously accepted it because you've been programmed to believe these people are many, many more times smarter than you. And these people, they're not necessarily lying. They are only doing what they were programmed to do, which was exhibit an implicit trust for their teachers and scientists that led to them to instantaneously believe everything they are told. Now, when you scrutinize the heliocentric model and you are honest, you are going to have many, many problems, because when you scrutinize it, you put it to the test. You try to understand it. Instead of instantaneously believing it, writing it down, and memorizing it, you try to logically understand it. Now, they say the earth, I'm not going to get into arguing about the shape of the earth. In this video, that is irrelevant. Whatever shape the earth would be irrelevant, because what I'm saying is, if the earth were in and surrounded by an infinite and expanding vacuum, the things we experience on the earth could never occur. We'd be dead. Why? Because we are taught there is no barrier between the earth and the earth's alleged atmosphere, layers of gas, that would separate it from an infinite vacuum universe. Now, a vacuum is an area void of air. And in their words, there's nothing there. Now, we can see on Earth, at sea level, on the ground, that gas, when not contained, will disperse, and it goes up and in all directions. And Gravity is supposed to be more and more of an influence near the ground because you are allegedly closer to the center of the earth. Now, they say at altitude, way above the earth, gas will stop and then come back down at 9.8 meters a second squared. We never see that. If it's not happening at the ground level, closer to the center of the earth, how can it be happening 100 miles above your head or at the Kármán line? That wouldn't be happening. What we see on Earth is that gas and oxygen, when in the vicinity or any contact with a vacuum, the gas and oxygen will go in and fill the available volume. It will fill the vacuum. Now, even arguing about what's going on, is the gas and oxygen on its own accord going into the vacuum, or is the vacuum itself sucking it in? That becomes moot because the end result is the same, whether the vacuum sucks it in or the air and gas go in on itself. The end result, bottom line, is the same. It goes in and fills the available volume. Now, these people put forth numbers so astronomical, so enormous, that it is absurd and ridiculous. And when you review this, you should be able to see. We are told that the Earth, regardless of its dimensions, is covered in gas, oxygen, water vapor clouds, and this whole unit is within and surrounded by an infinite expanding vacuum universe. They call it infinite because it is, they say it's expanding due to artist renderings of redshift. So they logically, in their own mind, call it infinite. I don't call it that, they do. But they tell us that the observable universe is billions of light years across. Now, I don't know if I remember correctly, but it was about 30 or so billion, maybe more, 30 billion light years across. And this is so preposterous. It is, they are mocking you. Okay, in other videos I tell you how enormous just 1 trillion is. 1 trillion of anything. If you were to start counting 1 trillion seconds right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on until you got to 1 trillion, it would take over 30,000 plus years to go by for you to get to 1 trillion seconds. For 1 trillion seconds to expire would take 30,000 plus years. Now, they tell us, and we instantaneously believe, that there are almost 6 trillion miles in 1 light year. Okay? Now, if any of you care to think about that, 1 mile is way more than 1 second. I can reduce a second to an inch. But regardless, 1 trillion seconds would take over 30,000 years. Could you imagine the enormity of 1 trillion miles? Then you got to add 6 trillion miles in 1 light year. They're saying that the observable universe, the infinite and expanding vacuum universe, is billions of light years across. 1 light year is almost 6 trillion miles, or 5.8 trillion miles. That's just 1 light year. Now we have billions of light years. So they want you to believe on an instantaneous manner that the Earth is covered in gas, oxygen, water vapor clouds, and trillions of gallons of water in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. And it all exists within and surrounded by an infinite vacuum expanding universe. That is illogical and so many degrees of absurd. You people cannot understand that you are being mocked by these liars. you cannot realize that no force or occurrence of gravity or any other force or occurrence of electricity or magnetism or electromagnetic combined, no force or occurrence could overrule an infinite expanding vacuum universe billions of light years across. We'd be dead. What we see on the earth would happen way up there. We see air, oxygen, or oxygen and gas immediately fill the available volume of a vacuum. Gas and oxygen cannot exist directly next to a vacuum, and that can be proven on the earth. The gas and oxygen immediately fills the available volume, either on its own accord, like you want to believe, or the vacuum itself, which is what I believe, sucks it in. But either way, the end result is the same. The gas and oxygen fill the available volume. So what makes you think that doesn't happen at altitude, let's say 100, 150 miles above your head, where they say there's an infinite vacuum universe billions of light years in size, length, width, and height? Don't you understand that all the gas and oxygen on the earth would fill this infinite vacuum universe billions of light years across? No force or occurrence could overrule that. And we see it on the earth. When gas and oxygen come into contact with a vacuum, the vacuum sucks it, or the gas and oxygen rush to fill the available volume of the vacuum. We are being lied to and mocked. And you need to realize why you believe what you do. It is not because you based it on any logical demonstration or understanding. You believe it because that's what Wikipedia and that's what Google and that's what these people in white lab coats tell you. And it is ingrained in your brain that they know what they're talking about, that they do what they do for the interest of the truth and your benefit. And I hate to say it, but you're being a fool if you really think that. When these universities or science departments are trying to procure money, millions of dollars in funding, when they go to present their findings to whatever board or people that are going to give them this money, they do not bring in any negative results. Okay? And when you fail to do that, you are not being honest. The truth goes down the drain. And these people do not do what they do for your best interest or knowledge of the truth. It is for power, money, esteem, and tenor. That's all these people care about. That's why you, as a idiotic individual, put yourself in massive debt so you can go to college and be just like these people. There's no way we could be here if whatever's above the earth and surrounding the earth were an infinite vacuum. The earth could never maintain its layers of gas and oxygen without a barrier, and gas and oxygen cannot be demonstrated to become a barrier themselves. So whether you like it or not, the truth is, they are lying to us about outer space. Because it can't be an infinite vacuum universe billions of light years across. Do you know how big that would be? How enormous? Like I said, 1 trillion seconds would take over 30,000 plus years to count to. So 1 billion light years, with 1 light year being almost 6 trillion miles. That is beyond comprehension, and you are not trying to comprehend it when you regurgitate that to me. You only have it because you instantaneously believe it. You are a facet of artificial intelligence. They treat your brain like a hard drive and fill it with nonsensical data that you instantaneously believe and regurgitate. I have people telling me that Newton's laws of motion apply in a vacuum, and they don't realize they always have to go to their bag of excuses to explain away why we don't see or feel the things they want us to believe. If action and reaction applied in a vacuum, the action of a fly flapping its wings in a vacuum would get an equal and opposite reaction. It would be able to fly, but it can't. And guys will tell me, well, the fly is relying on an external substance, but if it was relying on an internal substance, it would be different. These people don't understand. The reason they're saying that is because that's what they instantaneously believe. A rocket in outer space, the whole rocket, whatever comprises it on the outside or the inside, externally and internally, still comprises the rocket. The rocket is one, just like me having a body with two legs and two arms. I'm still one body. And the body of the rocket is within an infinite vacuum universe, allegedly surrounded by nothing. There is no substance to brace on or push off, but they believe that something that goes on within the rocket internally can create matter that rocket can push off. And that is ridiculous. I gave the analogy, and this isn't an analogy. It's not something I'm trying to say can be done. If there was a rocket with two boosters in outer space infinite vacuum universe, billions of light years across, with two boosters, and one booster ejected a brick wall, and then the other booster would eject fuel to maintain a burn so that burn can push against the brick wall and get forward momentum. That could never happen because the brick wall is in and surrounded by an infinite vacuum universe. The brick wall has nothing to brace itself on. It would have to be fixed to then be able to provide something for you to push off. I truly don't understand why people will offer the blather of, well, the fuel is oxygenated. The air oxygen is supplied. We are dealing with a universe, infinite vacuum, billions of light years across, and no burn can be maintained in an environment void of air. Don't you see in one video the guy uses fire to burn away the oxygen to create a vacuum? The infinite vacuum universe, billions of light years across, will not entertain any fire or what you want to call burn ejecting from the booster. It could never maintain itself. The vacuum would consume any fire or flames coming out of that fuselage. Don't you understand how big and enormous an infinite vacuum universe, billions of light years across, would be? The rocket is one body. It doesn't matter what's going on inside it. Anything attached to the rocket constitutes the rocket, one body. It is surrounded by nothing. The rocket has nothing to brace on. A brick wall, you can push off a brick wall on the earth because it is stationary, affixed into the ground or the cement, and you can push off it. Okay, in their outer space, there is nothing. The rocket would be like the fly in a vacuum, flapping its wings with no equal and opposite reaction. None whatsoever, because there's nothing there to provide an equal and opposite reaction. When a fly is in a vacuum chamber and it flaps its wings and nothing happens, no lift is achieved, that right there debunks Newton's laws of motion applying to a vacuum. They do not. They only apply to an oxygen-rich environment. I don't understand why people can't understand that. What they do is go into damage control, and they offer up excuses and try to explain away with internal, external. The fly relies on something external and it's not there, so nothing happens. That debunks Newton's laws of motion, of action and reaction. They were meant for an oxygen-rich environment. And rockets could never gain any type of thrust or forward or reverse or sideways motion because there's nothing to push off. It doesn't matter what goes on inside the rocket. What you combined oxygenated fuel, it can still do nothing. There's nothing to push off. You're trying to tell me that some type of substance is created in the rocket that the thrust can push off. That's so illogical. Why can't you understand how stupid that is? It wouldn't matter what the rocket produced because whatever is produced has no way to brace itself. None whatsoever. It couldn't provide a fixed surface to push off from. You know, the bottom line here is people are going to believe what they want to believe. But there is no belief when you instantaneously accept something. Because you're not scrutinizing it. You're not verifying it. There is no logic. You just accept it instantaneously. So now you got to believe they're going to move the sun, the earth, and the solar system to another area in space, per a Fox News article. And you might know that's ridiculous, but you are now forced to believe it.